Hello everyone, my name is Guilherme, I am a game developer, and in this video I will show you everything that is new in UPBGE 0.2.5. Well, first of all, UPBGE is a fork of the Blender game engine created by Tristan Porters 5 years ago with the focus of keeping the Blender game engine alive, but not only that, fixing bugs and bringing a lot of cool new features. And yes, if you asked if UPBGE will bring Eevee to the game engine, the amazing renderer that Blender Foundation implemented in Blender 2.8, you are right. They are working, the UPBGE team is working on that, but it's still not a thing yet. It's under development, so it may take a while, like a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years, I don't know. But the real question is that the UPBGE team wanted to bring to us a final stable version of the Blender 2.79 game engine that the UPBGE team was using until UPBGE 0.2.4 released 2 years ago as well, a little bit before Blender Foundation removed the Blender game engine. So we have this amazing version here, UPBGE 0.2.4. I released a lot of games using this version, but this version brings a lot of cool new features, but also a lot of cool new bugs. So the latest version, the 0.2.5, actually fixed a lot of bugs. So if you go here to the release notes, I am here with the page open, and if you scroll down up to the bottom, you can see a lot of bug fixes, like a lot of bug fixes here and refactors and cleanups. So if you open 0.2.5, you can actually feel, I've been using this for like 5 or 7 days since its release, by the way, and it's amazing how you can feel that this version is much more stable and solid. So if you start using it, you will feel that. So that's amazing that they fixed a lot of bugs, a lot of collision bugs, a lot of weird behaviors. So it's amazing. And also, they added a lot of great new features that I will discuss here in this video, so you will be able to see what's new in this version and why you should start using it right now. So first of all, I just like to show you this amazing video created by Atomic Skill, in UPBGE 0.2.5 in 4K 16 frames per second. So it's an amazing video showcasing a car drifting around a great scene. So you can see here great graphics, great shaders, great logic, particles, physics, and everything that it can do inside UPBGE. So it's amazing to see how fast people started to work on great games using this engine. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to create a game 100% in this version. My latest game, Dr. Noir, that I made for the Ludum Dare 46 competition, I made it using UPBGE 0.2.4 a little bit before they released this new version, so I was not able to use this new version yet in a full commercial game, but I've been using this as to test stuff. I've been using this version to test stuff and record new videos and so on. It's amazing. So let's jump to the new features. The first feature they added is the render attachment. What is that? Well, if you go here to the UPBGE and scroll in the render tab, you will see this attachment stuff. And what is this? You can create multiple outputs to your renderer. So by default, if you press P and start the game, you will be able to see, of course, your scene, and this is the first render attachment output, kinda. The image that will be displayed in your monitor. But if you create, like if I want to select this cube here, and if I want to create a new node editor here, so let me open the node editor and actually make this cube works here. So I am outputting the color of the material here to the base output of the renderer. So this I'm saying to the UPBGE, hey, please put this material color inside this output. That is what you can see here. So if I remove this, for example, I will not be able to see anything. And if I add an RGB color node here and connect this to the output directly, you will be able to see only this color but with no shading influence. So if I delete all the lamps, everything will remain in this color that I choose here. So why? Because I am saying to the handler of the UPBGE, hey, please put this color on the output. Okay, well, why I'm explaining that to you? Because sometimes may be interesting if you are writing a GLSL shader for post-processing or a 2D filter. That is the name that we call inside the UPBGE the post-processing stuff. You may want to create new textures, other textures that is not the main buffer here that you can see in the screen. For example, let's say that this stuff is a headlight, is a car headlight. So I have here the material, and I want, of course, my car headlight to be affected by other lamps in the scene. Like if I put, oops, let me delete that. If I put a lamp, a point lamp near my headlight, and by the way, this is this needs to be a headlight in your head, but I want that to be affected by the other lamps, but I also want this headlight to glow. And how to make this headlight glow without making all this, the entire scene glowing as well? I'm sorry. Well, the first option is that you can select the material and go here in the emission and increase this value, but you will see that, well, it's not exactly glowy, it's just becoming brighter, and the light, the shadows will not influence this material that much. But another thing that you can do is to create a new texture, and this texture will not be displayed to your player, by the way, but a new texture that only contains the glow color. Like I want this stuff to glow in a red color for some weird reason, so I can output this to a new texture, and that's why the render attachments exist. So I can go to output and click in the output attachments and output this color to another texture, to an attachment texture that I created here. And once I did that, I will be able, and by the way, if I press P, nothing will change here, everything will remain the same, and the actual color that you will be able to see is the output, but I will be able to write a GLSL shader to get this attachment output and blur this output in order to make an actual glow in the headlight, for example. So this is a very interesting feature, but it's a little bit advanced. So if you're starting and you don't know GLSL, you will probably not use that directly. But if other people, other users of the UPBGE starts to create an amazing stuff like templates and .blend files, so you'll be able to use it, you will probably have better options in your shading stuff. Okay, so that's an amazing new feature. Another thing that they added, and this one is a little bit more beginner friendly, is the procedural textures node. And what is that? Let me show you. Well, I will start a new scene here, and I will delete this default cube as always and select the ground. Let me actually apply the scale. And I will create a node material again. So I click here in the material tab to create a node. Go to my node editor, I'm sorry. And again, as I explained, you can select the material to be outputted here in the main view. So I have shadows here, and I can change the color of this stuff and so on. But something that they added right now is that I can press Shift A, go to patterns, and select a new pattern to display here, like for example a brick texture. So let me change this material to a brick color. Boom, I have here a full procedurally generated texture by default that you can use and adjust, change the colors, change everything. I can change like the scale of this a lot, can reduce or increase. I can play around with all these numbers to have a very interesting pattern here to use as a procedural texture. For example, I can connect my material back, but connect this pattern, and let me use the noise texture this time here in the material color, and I will have all this procedural texture here, but take a look, being influenced by everything in the scene, like the shadows. So I have here my node texture, that is a procedural texture, generating the actual color of my material. I can use the fact to create a black and white texture, and I can play around with all this data here, like the scale, the detail, and the distortion. I love the distortion stuff because you can use this to create like water effects and so on. And that's amazing that now you can use a lot of great textures. I can use the Voronoi pattern. Look at that, that's amazing. Oh, I can actually use the factor as the vector here to create a very interesting stuff here. Amazing. So you can use this stuff to create advanced material, advanced texture, and so on. So it's an amazing feature that they added here. Another thing that they added is the FXAA anti-aliasing. So if I go here to a BG, since now we have the render attachment stuff, the default anti-aliasing is not enough. So we need a post-processing anti-aliasing to render the to fix the aliasing. And if you don't know what is aliasing, is when you draw, actually when the game engine draws a line in the screen, you probably will be able to see some weird shapes here. If I zoom in that, it will be probably like that. Let me just try to replicate what an aliased image looks like that. So this is ugly, of course, very ugly, this weird pattern here, and that's why anti-aliasing exists. So you can go here to System, AA Samples, and choose FXAA to create a much more interesting and better results. Okay, of course I'm recording this video, so the YouTube compression and everything that is involved to for me to record this video, you will not be able to see the anti-aliasing in action here, but believe me, it is working and it's amazing. Okay, next feature is expose parallax component for material texture. That is an amazing feature. Well, how it works, if you have an advanced material, so if you go to textureheaven.com, let me open here, let me Google that actually. If you go to this website, for example, and go to the texture tab, you will be able to find a lot of amazing textures, just like this one, this brick texture here. Okay, and one of all these maps, you can have the Ambient Occlusion Map. Oops, I wanted to preview that, not download it. Okay, here we go. Or the, let me, how, okay. The diffuse map, the displacement map, the normal map, the Hogness map, and the Hog AO map. A lot of different maps that works in different scenarios, but one of these maps is the displacement maps. And what is this for? Well, it actually works kind of like the normal map, except for the fact that it actually make your stuff, make your surface 3D. It looks like a 3D surface. So if I download here, let me download the displacement map real quick. I do it in JPEG. I hope you don't mind, but I just don't want to wait the PNG file to download here. So if I open these textures and open in open it in Blender. So let me go to the UV image editor. Let me select the ground again, of course, and I will open the normal map here, this texture, and I will also open the displacement map. Okay, they look very similar, except for something. Let me delete all these lamps. I will also remove the background color here. Let me go to display, word background, and I will add a regular point lamp. Okay, so you will be able to see this effect a little bit better. Okay, let me zoom in, and I will create a cube projection to project this 3D surface into the 2D UV map, and I will add this texture as the texture of my material. So if I go to the normal map and attach this normal map, of course, and make it works, let me actually go to image sampling, activate the normal map, and I will disable the diffuse color because this is not a diffuse image, and I will activate the geometry normal. If you see here, it looks like a 3D stuff, but it's not 3D, it's 2D. So if we go here to the edge of this stuff, let me turn on only render. It's a 2D surface with a normal map, okay? And it's great, it's amazing. In most of the case, it's enough for what you're trying to do, but we can do it better. Yes, we can, by using the displacement map. So let me disable the normal map, and I will add a new texture here, and select the displacement map, okay? So now, what are you gonna do is I will disable the diffuse color, of course, and turn on the parallax map. Okay, and by default, the only option was the alpha channel of the texture, and that's a shame because it's very hard to move stuff in Photoshop and so on to the alpha map. So the best choice here is to be able to select what kind of channel do you want to sample to create this displacement stuff. So let me select the red, for example, and I will also have to turn on the geometry. Yes, so if you see here, it looks like a normal map again. So take a look. Oh my god, it's just a flat surface. But if you go here to the edges and actually activate this discard edges stuff, you'll be able to see that this flat surface is not actually flat. Take a look at that. Of course, it's an illusion. It is flat. If you go to the edged mode, you will be able to see that. But it's an illusion to look like there's some depth on this texture, and that's amazing. That's a very interesting feature if you want to create a more realistic looking game. Take a look at that. I only have four vertex here, and I have a lot of details in my texture. And of course, I can add all the other textures like the diffuse color, like the ambient occlusion stuff, and it will work just fine. So that's a great addition to a PGA, especially for a more realistic case, and I like it that. The next cool feature is the Restore Object Info node. Again, another node feature, and let me open a new stuff here, a new .blend file, and again I'll select this default cube and I'll make it use the node editor. I will open the node editor panel here, and let me select the cube material, and then I can go to Shift A and search for object data, or actually object info, and I have this node here. And what is this node? Is that a new node? If I go to UPBGE 0.2.4, this will not exist. Well, it actually does exist in 0.2.4. So if you go here and search for object, you will find this stuff. Oops, not this node, the object info, except that this in a UPBGE 0.2.4 will not work at all. So in this version they fixed this node and it's working. So you can access the location of the object, and this is very useful to create procedural stuff, because if you go here take a look. They will actually display the location of the object here in your material. So, for example, you can use it as a seed for your pattern noise texture, for example, I don't know, and you can have a different noise, a different color for your material based on the position of the object, and that's amazing. I use this a lot to create to use the same asset, but a lot of times around the scene, and the asset will look different every time. Why? Because I'm using the location of this object to generate a different color for the asset, and that's amazing. That's very interesting. Take a look. It's the same shader. I'm using the same object, but they all have different colors. That's interesting. I can use actually a random number that is generated as well to create the same thing. So if I press P and start a project and start a game, this random will generate a different color every time. So if I press P, take a look, the darker one was this one, but if I press P again, it's not anymore, it's maybe this one. If I press P again, it's this one. So it's completely random. I can use the location if I want a fixed color, because of course the location of the object will always be the same, but I can use a lot of this. Can use the object index, the material index, and anyways, that's a lot of options if you want to create more advanced materials inside a BGE. So another great feature. And to finish this list, this one, Revert bullet multi-threading, is a very interesting and cool new feature that they fixed actually, because in 0.2.4 they introduced bullet multi-threading, which is basically, in theory, a faster way to calculate physics. But what is the problem? What is wrong about this stuff? Well, it turns out that sometimes the physics will not be calculated as they should be calculated. For example, sometimes if you start a new game in your project, the objects will fall even if there's a ground below them, and that's very bad and annoying, because, well, you start playing, you press play to start playing your game, and where is all the enemies and the boxes? Well, they just followed but there is a ground below them. Well, it doesn't matter, because bullet multi-threading was causing a lot of problems, so they fixed that, and now your project will no longer suffer from that. Amazing new feature. Oh, another thing that they did is that you can right now actually see, let me start a new game, in the dope sheet, when you edit your animation, you can now see the colors, actually the keyframes, because previously in 0.2.4 the not selected keyframes was black, and since the background is already black, it was very hard to see the keyframes here. So they changed it to white, much more easy to find them by looking at this, and if you select a keyframe, it turns into this blue color, and I loved that because it improved a lot the usability of the game engine. Another thing that I did is restore the background color of the Blender 2.79. Why? Because if I disable the word background, now if you see the background color is much brighter, and it means that you can now also see the lamps or the empties that is also black, because in 0.2.4 the background was very dark, and since the empties, the lamps, the lights were also very dark, it was near impossible to see them. So it was a great usability feature in 0.2.5. And well, folks, I will leave all these links in the description of this video. I hope you don't mind my weird work in progress English. I'm still learning this amazing language, and I hope I will be able to do more tutorials or videos in English for you guys. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to support what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, bringing this new English stuff for you. I hope you enjoy it, and I see you in the next video.